Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Institution of Global Professional Free webinar. Thank you all for joining with us in this wonderful morning. My lovely audience, today I am your host for the morning. I am Yanisakta Choudhury from Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to associate with IGP as a global member. I feel honored to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all to our Institution of Global Professional Free webinar. Thank you all for joining us today in this marvelous morning. And it's my humble request to you, all of you, stay with us till the end. And don't forget to take, share, and mention your friends. So let's together and learn together. Dear participant, our webinar topic is design thinking model. Today we have our speaker. Our speaker name is Rafael Cabin. Our speaker Rafael Cabin Nagal Aaron left and Eddie. He is from Philippines. He is an head teacher from Calibo Integrated Special Education, assistant professor from University of San Agustin, clinical instructor, former district research coordinator from district LRMC coordinator, and lecturer from Auckland State University. Let's invite our speaker. Hello, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, thank
Sir,
you for. Mhm.
thank you, sir. Sir, you can share your presentation.
Oh, yeah, just a moment.
Okay, sir.
I'm already sharing my screen. Okay, thank you. All right. So, thank you so much for inviting me for the third time. I mean, for the fourth time here in Institute for Global Professionals. My name is Rafael Kevin Nainagal from the Philippines and representing the different institutions that were mentioned by our MC today. So, for today, I will be discussing design thinking model, which is actually an alternative of the instructional design models for research. This is for developmental type of research. So, all of these researches are actually anchored through guided learning. Okay? So, with Vygotsky's zone of proximal development and scaffolding, it has been realized that proximal guidance is actually necessary for the development and growth of the learners. So, if you could have noticed, this process is in which learners initiate and advance their learning guided by advanced partners and socially derived resources such as tools and other artifacts. Well, these guides actually include us, teachers, parents, experts, and some other artifacts and social forms and norm. Now, Jerome Bruner also actually promulgated guided discovery, which is about discovering knowledge. This actually motivates an individual to explore, and based on the exploration, it invention actually follows out of necessity. And finally, discovery of knowledge is being identified. Now, all of these three, guided discovery and guided learning, are actually interacting with one another. Now, when you are actually doing such strategy, this will actually enhance teaching quality. And when there is good teaching quality, of course, knowledge acquisition is also acquired better. Now, how can we create an instructional material which actually enhances our quality in teaching? Well, we have actually curriculum or instructional designs. Well, these designs actually include the most common one, which is the ADDIE method, the ADDIE model, which was actually created in 1975 by the Center for Educational Technology at Florida State University for the U.S. Army. And right now, the topic of my discussion will be focused on the design thinking process or the design thinking model, which was created by our IDEO founder, David Kelly, in 1991. So let's discuss what is instructional design first. Well, when I say instructional design, it refers to the process of creating instructional materials. Well, instructional materials actually includes books, modules, video-based lessons, well, audio lessons, and so on and so forth. Well, it is not limited to those. It is also kind of creating alternative methods to do experimentations. It is used to identify gaps in knowledge, skills, and attitudes of students or employees. Well, take note of the term employees because you can use this in business too. Now, instructional design helps give meaningful and effective instructions to learners in a way that will make learning easier for them. Now, instructional design models describe how to conduct the different steps. These steps involve instructional design process, and the models help educators and trainers to guide and plan the overall process. Now, if you could have noticed, the process is kind of very rigid and vivid. Now, Branch and Kopcha actually said that instructional design is intended to be an iterative process of planning outcomes, selecting effective strategies for teaching and learning, choosing relevant technologies, identifying educational media, and measuring performance. Now, here are some examples. Well, I actually chose the top seven models of instructional designs. And of course, the widely used ADDIE model is the first one, which starts with analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. So if you could have noticed, analysis is kind of assessment of everything, whether there's a problem and what type of problem it is. Out of that, you actually design a prototype, then develop, and then implement the prototype or the plan, and finally evaluate whether it's effective or not. We also have Merrill's principles of instruction. We have also Gagne's 9 events of instructions, and I know everyone is familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, where we start from remembering, understanding, applying analysis, evaluate, and finally, the last one and the highest level in Bloom's taxonomy is to create. Now, we also have Dick and Carey model, which focuses on the interrelationship between context, content, instruction, and learning. We also have the camp design model, which is kind of a little bit the same with the ADDIE model. It's just that the steps are actually interchanged. The action mapping by Kathy Moore takes a visual approach to instructional design that is popularly used in business. So, if you could have noticed here, action mapping is like you are trying to identify the necessary steps in every action that you're doing. And then, if you are bombarded with problems, what solutions will you do? Now, here are the application of the traditional instructional design. Let's take, for example, the ADDIE model. For example, here in the Philippines, I tried to conduct a study regarding what would be the best instructional material to be used since microscope is not available at home because of the pandemic. So one student actually said, based on my gathered data from the analysis, what nga ni kami kagamit microscope para makita ng mga organelles sa cells. This literally translates to, we haven't even used a microscope to see the cell organelles. Well, this is just qualitative data. Now, I need more complex data, more firm data to support this one. A firmer data from the PISA results in 2018 stated that mathematics and science in the Philippines is actually below the average. Now, based on that, I actually created a video based module about the microscope. So I actually designed here. I actually created PowerPoint and so on and so forth that describes about the microscope and so on and so forth. So this can be accessed by individuals who are not available to go to schools because of the pandemic limitations. Now, another one was actually I asked one of my friends to create an improvised microscope out of that. So this is more interactive and all the things are available at home. So anybody can create a microscope out of their own cell phone and a lens. Now, how about addressing inclusiveness? Inclusiveness such as can it be done offline or online? Is it gender bias? Does it use or does it cater to multiple intelligence? Will it be available to all socioeconomic status? How about for differently abled students? Well, of course, our division, the division of Aklan, Department of Education, actually created something that is inclusive even for individuals who are hearing impaired. So if you could have noticed, we have a person here, a shadow teacher, who actually enacts the sign language for our broadcaster. Okay. Now, what about the design thinking model? We have talked a lot of instructional designs. So where does the design thinking model goes? Well, if you could have noticed, this is the conceptual background of the design thinking model, which actually includes the core of the steps: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and implement. Now, design thinking is a human centered problem solving approach as opposed to a business centric approach to solving complex business problems. So, as mentioned, the core is as follows. Now, I want you to take note of the last statement. The iteration is on refinement of the prototypes based on the testing. So before anything else is already expensive during the development process, we already try to test the prototype whether it's already good or not before it goes before it blows up to unknown proportions of costing. And if you could have noticed, well, the question that we are going to do is more on the refinement of the problem. Now, design thinking is a nonlinear iterative process. When I say nonlinear, it's actually cyclical. Okay, um, wherein the teams use this to understand the users, or in this case, to understand the students, challenge assumptions, redefine problems, and create innovative solutions to prototype and test. So the five major steps includes the empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Well, after testing, and if it's already good, there is another step, which is to implement the tested prototype. This is attributed to David Kelly of Innovation Design Engineering Organization. Design thinking process is a design methodology that provides a solution based approach to solving problems. So, most of the times, we reframe the question, we reframe the problem, whether we are actually looking into the right problem or we are just looking into the minor side problems. The design thinking model has five stages, as proposed by Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design at Stanford University. So the stage one is empathize during this time. Well, the same goes with your ADDIE method, the analysis. We are going to empathize, to walk into the shoe of the users, how they are actually facing the problem. Or if they are looking into a problem, whether they are looking into the right angle of the problem or not. So we are going to refine the problem during the define stage, that's the stage two, after gathering enough data and empathize. And finally, when you already refined the question or the problem, it's time for you to ideate. This time, you're going to start to generate ideas on how to solve the defined and refined problem. Out of that idea, you actually create a prototype solution, whether it's a material, an experimentation, whether it's a product, whether it's an instructional material. And finally, we have to test the prototype already before it goes to become very expensive. Now, is there a link between design thinking and traditional instructional design? Yes, of course. They are actually similar and different at the same time. So the first key difference is the impetus for even starting the process. So we can actually immediately start with this very simple design thinking process. In the traditional instructional design, we react to a problem someone presents to us. However, in design thinking, we empathize with the users. We don't just go on and say, hey, that's the problem. Now, in empathize, in design thinking, we empathize. We are trying to walk into the shoes of these people who are presenting the problem. Now, if we flip the traditional instructional design framework known as the ADE, well, we can actually say that it is actually like we're shifting from audience analysis to insight gathering. So we don't, in an ADI method, we are outside observers of the participants. On the other hand, when we are using the design thinking process, we are actually participating like the participant so that we will understand further whether we are looking at the right angle of the problem. Now, we use design thinking tools and techniques such as experience mapping and empathy mapping to get the perspectives. Now, design thinking refines the problem instead of simply defining the problem like in traditional instructional designs. When we already refine the problem, we can then proceed to ideate and co create potential solutions with our learners or with our users. And we can invite them to help us shape the prototypes that we can test. Now, take note, as mentioned, I always reiterate this one. Design thinking offers a testing approach wherein we test earlier in the development process when it is still cheaper to do it. Unlike the traditional instructional design, wherein it's time consuming and it's very costly already, and when everything is already refined, that's the time that we can test our product. Here, we can actually cost cut in the design thinking process. Now, let's take, for example, the research that I conducted for the division of ACLAN, the Department of Education. This was actually funded by the Special Education Fund. The title is Parents' Awareness on COVID 19 and Their Practice of Health Protocols, Basis for the Development of Localized IEC Material. So, just a recap, here are the 5 stages of the process. So, first, in the empathize, I tried to understand the issue at hand. So, with that, I tried to survey my parents, the parents, regarding their awareness of the health protocol and the health protocol practice in regards to COVID 19. Then later on, in the define stage or phase, the information gathered in the empathize were put together. Take note, it's both qualitative and quantitative data. In the ideation process, the design of the ideation was the basis of the prototype IEC materials that were developed. So, FGD protocol were conducted with experts and some parents to identify what would be the best. So, as I mentioned, we are co creators of the design. So, in the prototype, based on the results of the protocols and the survey, so an IEC material was actually developed, and it's actually gender sensitive, localized, and culturally appropriate using the English and the neutral Aclaranon language as the primary medium. Finally, in the testing phase, this is the time wherein the IEC material was actually sent to parents and experts for them to evaluate and use it. So, in the first stage, we actually have the empathize. So, first, I tried to identify their awareness on COVID 19 problems or COVID 19 facts. Also, I tried to survey their health protocol practice. And, well, as qualitative methods, I also asked them individually for the reasons regarding that. They actually mentioned some of these, like the government does not provide assurance regarding the vaccine's effectiveness. And of course, there was the Dengvaxia issue here in the Philippines. Now, finally, during the ideate and um, the ideate, I actually um, visualized an IEC material that would look like this in a trifold paper. And when the prototype is already ready, it looks like this one. And this is the inside part. You actually divide it into three. So some of my participants and the development team are actually at the bottom right. Now, here are some of the features of the developed localized COVID 19 information, education, and communication material. So the catchy heading, the consistent color scheme, the handiness. So here on the first box, you can actually see the actual material itself. And there's a lot more to see there. So glocalization is embedded through the use of the mother tongue language or the dialect here in Aklan, with of course the English translation for global users. So we actually use the localized examples as illustrations and integrated English as mentioned. So the content is focused on the COVID 19 facts as well as the prescribed health protocols. Now, finally, I tested the product by giving it to the parents and to the experts. And the parents actually exhibited an increase in their overall awareness and overall health protocol practice. And finally, the material as the additional sixth step in the design thinking process. I actually had some experts and parents evaluate the product for its comprehensiveness, attractiveness, acceptability, involvement potential, and inducement to action. And everything is very acceptable. So, of course, it doesn't end there. The evaluation process actually includes the qualitative aspect, and the themes that were gathered were actually the following. So, they actually mentioned that the mother tongue and the translations is effective in understanding the contents. They also said that Aklanan language is better, and well, making this IEC is a big help for everyone to understand more about the situation. Well, there's a lot of positive comments regarding the IEC material. They actually even mentioned the aesthetics of the material itself, and some provided some suggestions. Well, this is how we utilize the design thinking process in research. And before I end, I just want to state this one for everybody. If you are having a problem with regards to design thinking process and you don't know what you're doing, so when the darkness envelops the night sky and the battle has begun, the wolves shall scream our perish, but we shall taste triumph at the dawn of the rising sun. Hiraya Manawari from Rafael Kevin Ainagal, a lifelong learner. Hiraya Manawari is hope that this will happen. So once again, this is Rafael Kevin Ainagal from the Philippines. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation. Now we will run our quiz session. After quiz session, we will come back again in our question answer session. Thank you, sir. Okay, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was waiting for the question.
And now, first we start our quiz session. Then we come back again in our question answer session. You have to wait for some minutes.
Well, I can actually say that the design thinking model is actually quite easier to understand and easier to follow, cost effective, and well, not very time consuming compared to the traditional instructional design method. For me, this one is actually quite better.
Okay, sir. So, sir, now we go our quiz session.
I'm sorry.
Now we go our quiz session.
Ah,
Quiz.
okay.
Then come back again on in our questions answer session.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Uh, Dear participant, now we will start our quiz session. Uh, to join this session, you have to go slido.com. After that, you have to enter the code, and the code is IGP, and the code is IGP quiz. Um, After short video, we will run our quiz session. Let's enjoy our quiz session. আচ্ছা, আমি ঠিক স্যার? নাম। Dear participants, now we will go our quiz session. To join this session, you have to go slido.com. After that, you have entered the code. The code is IGP quiz. Uh, we will pick your name from Slido. So join with your full name, which will directly print on certificates. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz completion certificates. 16 people join this quiz session. To join this quiz session, you have to go slido.com. After that, you have to enter the code. The code is IGP quiz. Hmm? Now we will start our quiz competition. First question. Design thinking is a first option. Problem solving tool. Second option, an affectual approach. And the correct answer is option 1, problem solving tool. Our second question. Design thinking requires first option knowing customers, second option sales. And the correct answer is knowing customers. Question number 3. Management student can and design thinking students first option think differently. Second option I am lost. Help me save me. And the correct answer is option 1, think differently. Our phone number question is a model of the first version of a design. First option beam bridge, second option prototype. And the correct answer is option 2 prototype. Five down question. After creating a prototype, we can say that design thinking process is first option in action, second option solve, and the correct answer is in action. Five down question. Six down question is design thinking is really a process for first option creative thought, second option making products, and the correct answer is creative thought. Question number 7. Who developed the RCH model of motivational design? First option John Dewey, second option John Keller. And the correct answer is John Keller. 8 wrong question is what is the first step in design thinking? First option ideate, second option empathy, and the correct answer is empathy. Question number 9. An equity minded approach to design thinking attends to issues of power, identify, and values. First option true, second option false, and the correct answer is true. And last question. The dash step in design thinking is all about bringing clarity to the problem. First option define, second option observe, and the correct answer is first option define. Congratulations, Ricky R. Kolima. Congratulations, top 10 quiz competition winner. Today quiz competition winners, we have all of your names which you entered during join. We will pick and prepare certificate and we post them on our Facebook official page and book within 15 minutes. Our Facebook official page is Institute of Global Professional. Now we will go for our question answer session. If you have any question, you can ask in our comment box. After short video, we will go our question answer session. Let's enjoy our question answer session. Niche pernah buka kan? Tiga. Sir, welcome back in our question answer session.
Hello.
Dear participant, if you have any question, you can ask in our comment box. Sir, our first question. Good afternoon, sir. How can we use design thinking in our everyday lives?
Okay, good question, Mr. Salviejo. And I'm actually kind of astonished when you actually said that one because, we are actually kind of looking into the cheaper way of solving everyday problems using the design thinking. Like, for example, let's say you don't know what to eat for today. So you empathize with yourself and with your children or anybody who could not actually eat 3 times a day, and then try to ideate solutions for that. Well, it's actually a very good methods because it's easier than the stricter methods of the traditional instructional designs. But mind you, design thinking is actually kind of more appropriate for business and education problems. For everyday problems, there's a lot of ways to solve that, and I know for sure that you have actually a lot of abilities to do that on your own. Okay.
Mhm. Thank you, sir. Dear participant, we are still waiting for your question. If you have any question, you can ask them in our comment box. Sir, there is no more question. Uh, Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation and share your valuable knowledge. I hope participant can learn from your presentation. Any last word for our participant?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, the design thinking model is actually kind of the easier way for us to do the instructional design method of developing materials, may it be for innovation, May it be for teaching and learning process, may it be for business. Well, the thing about the design thinking model is that we can actually test right away the prototype without going into expensive proportions. Okay. So that's for me is actually quite a lot better and cheaper if you're on a tight budget.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you as
For,
well, IGP.
okay. Thank you, sir. Again. Uh, Dear participant, now we will share our certificate code. Our today's topic is design thinking model. Our code is IGP3940. Our certificate code is IGP3490. Thank you everyone for your active participation. I hope you all learn uh, from our speaker from our webinar. Thank you everyone. Stay healthy and blessed. Thank you.